What is up, YouTube? Welcome back. Aeneas here. We've got some new Brothers War spoilers for you. The new set is coming out in just 2 weeks. It comes out on the 15th on MTG Arena, and you can play with them on November 11th at your game store. There also is going to be the streamer early access event somewhere in between there. I think it's actually set on the same day, so also November 11th. So check that out if you get a chance. But today we're going to talk about some of the new cards that look really interesting to me that I think we'll see some play, and maybe we can build some decks around it for the top 5 brews, which are coming up next week. I will be doing a video on each of those next week. And so this week we're going to spend time just looking at the new spoilers, talking about them, and yeah, just seeing what's cool, what's working, and what looks interesting. So today, we're starting off with a strong one, Arcane Proxy. So this is an artifact creature wizard, but it's also colorless. However, it has a special effect called Prototype, where you can cast it for a different cost. So normally it's 7 mana. You can cast it for 1 blue, and it's a 2/1. And the ability it has is whenever Arcane Proxy enters the battlefield, if you cast it, exile target instant or sorcery with mana less than or equal to Proxy's power from your graveyard and copy that card. You may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. Okay, that's a lot of words. Basically, you can pay this for 3 mana for a 2/1 that lets you cast a 2 mana spell or a 1 mana spell from your graveyard for free. Or you can cast it later for 7 mana, and you can cast anything from 4 mana down to 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, anything like that. So I think most of the time you're going to cast it for 3 and then get to cast a 2 mana spell for free. So it's kind of like a worse Snapcaster Mage, definitely not Snapcaster Mage, but a much worse Snapcaster Mage. But you still get the 2-for-1 value for 3 mana. Also, if you've played with control decks, you get a lot of instants and sorceries in your graveyard, so getting to cast something back from your graveyard gives you like good selection on what you want to cast. And if you've ever played with Torrential Gearhulk, you know that that's also a pretty good value late game. So you have the 7 mana, which is kind of like a Gearhulk, and the 3 mana one, which is kind of like a worse Snapcaster Mage. I still think it's good. Might see play in some control decks as like a finisher, somewhat finisher that also gets you value. Always going to be at least 2-for-1 generally. So yeah, I think it'll be good. Will it be good enough? We'll have to see, but Gearhulk was good enough. It has flash. That's kind of one of the big differences. We'll see. But there's definitely a lot of artifact synergy in the set, so I wouldn't be surprised if this sees some play. Alright, moving on. Let's look at Ashnod, Flesh Mechanist. So this is a 1/1 with Death Touch for 1 mana, and whenever it attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, create a tapped Power Stone token. This is one of the, I think, easiest ways to get Power Stones on a pretty decent creature body. 1/1 with Death Touch for 1. Not bad. It also has an ability, 5 mana. Exile a creature card from your graveyard. Create a 3/3 colorless zombie artifact creature token. So I think you'd want to put this in like your own Occult Anvil type deck, where you already want to sacrifice the 1/1 artifact token. So you tack in, you sack the token, you make another artifact, which works for your own Occult Anvil. And if you don't sack it to that, then you can use that to activate her ability and start making some zombie artifact creature tokens. So they're still artifacts. So you still got that synergy with your own Occult Anvil. So will it be in every black deck? No. Will it be in most black decks? Probably not. But in any sort of sacrifice deck, I think we will see this card in there, especially an artifact synergy one, like the Occult Anvil deck. Alright, what else we got? We got the Autonomous Assembler, 5 mana, same thing as the Prototype. So you can cast it for 2 mana for a 2/2 or 5 mana for a 4/5. It always has Vigilance, and it has the ability 1 and a tap. Put a +1/+1 counter on a target assembly worker. So this is an assembly worker. So basically, in a white deck, you cast it for 2, you make a 2/2, has Vigilance, you attack in, and you can tap it after you've attacked in to put a +1/+1 counter on it. So 1 mana every turn, you can make it bigger and bigger and bigger. I think that's exactly what mono white would want, something like this. It even has the upside that late game you can cast it for 5 mana if you so choose. And yeah, I mean, I think it fits pretty well into any white aggro deck. We'll have to see if it beats out some of the other choices, but I think if Luminarch Aspirant was pretty good, I think this is not quite as good as that, but you know, somewhat similar. So yeah, might see some play. And if there's any other assembly workers that fit into the mono white deck, then I definitely think this will see some play. So yeah, let's see. But still a cool card nonetheless. Another one that I liked was Bitter Reunion. So this is kind of like Cathartic Reunion, I think it's called. It's a 2 mana sorcery, discard a card, draw 2 cards in red. This is an enchantment, 2 mana enchantment, discard a card, draw 2 cards. And you can also pay 1 mana and sacrifice it to give your creatures haste until end of turn. So basically a better Cathartic Reunion that can give your creatures haste. And there is a little bit of stuff that wants enchantments sometimes. So, maybe this will be relevant. I guess it works against Invoke Despair, right? Like you have an enchantment sitting around now that stops you from losing the life, stuff like that. So, yeah, just if you want some draw in red, I think this could be a good choice. All right, next thing. So this one, it's in Spanish, so I don't know the name, but it's a 2 mana 3/1 colorless artifact creature. I think it says it can't block, and then for 4 black, you can bring it back from your graveyard to the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it, and it costs 4 less to activate this ability if your opponent has more than 4 basic land cards. I believe it says basic land cards. I think that's what it says. So at the very least, it's a 2 mana for a 3/1, and you can bring it back late game. And I think the point of this, it's supposed to be punishing decks that play a lot of colored types, because the last set had the domain, and like people were playing a lot of multicolors. This set, they have a lot of stuff that benefits from having single colors. So I think that's the point of this. It's like if they're playing 4 colors, then this is going to punish them. So maybe not a main deck. It will depend on the meta, but still being able to bring it back forever, it's kind of like a underdog. And if you get it for 2 mana, then that's just crazy, right? So yeah, we'll see if it makes it to the standard or not, but it seems cool. All right, Brotherhood's End. So this is a sweeper card, 3 mana, 1 red. Does 3 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. That's a big one, planeswalker. We didn't have a lot of good planeswalker removal. So yeah, 3 mana sweepers have always been pretty good in red. The 3 mana for 3 damage. Hitting planeswalker is a big upside. And then on top of that, it even has another ability. So instead of doing 3 damage, you can choose to destroy all artifacts with mana value 3 or less. So if you're facing some sort of artifact deck, this is going to be huge. And like in Historic, there's an artifact deck that pretty much has like all artifacts 3 or less. If you're running a sweeper like Wrath of God, you might as well run this one. It's going to just be a strict upgrade to that. So yeah, it's definitely going to be good in Historic. We'll see if it's good in Standard, but usually the 3 mana for 3 damage sweepers are pretty good. So I think it'll be good, and definitely it's going to go in my Grixis list. Yeah, definitely, because that'll just destroy those artifact decks. So looks cool. All right, next one, Calamity's Wake. This is a weird card, very weird card. 1 in a white. This is kind of like the first time we've seen this type of card. It's an instant, and it says exile all graveyards. So 2 mana, exile graveyards. Maybe that's okay, not great. It's like, could probably get a better way to do that. But it also says players can't cast non-creature spells this turn. And you exile Calamity's Wake. So you exile all the graveyards, and then they can't play a non-creature spell. So that's interesting. It's kind of like a silence, and it also exiles graveyards. So this could be really good when you need kind of a flexible card that's good against control and also lets you have some way to exile graveyards against like combo decks. So I think this might see play in Historic. Might be a sideboard card, but being able to stop the combo decks and some of the combo decks, this will stop them casting, and it would be good against control if you have a somewhat aggro deck to stop them from casting non-creature spells. So yeah, might see play. Looks really interesting, and I think it'll be better in older formats. But yeah, cool card. All right, the next one I wanted to look at was Clay Champion. So this is an X and 4 mana, and it says it enters the battlefield with 3+1/+1 counters for each green spent to cast it. And it also says when it enters the battlefield, choose up to 2 other target creatures. For each white spent to cast it, put a +1/+1 counter on them. So, unless they worded this really horribly, seems like you could pay 4 green pips of this. So green, and this will come in as an 8/8 creature for 4 mana. So that seems crazy. Or, if you have like a green-white type deck, which is going kind of wide, you could pay green, white. This will come in as a 5/5 for 4, which is still good. And you put +1/+1 counters on your other creatures. So either way, that sounds just crazy to me. Really good stats, color this creature. And you can actually pay X more, so you can just keep scaling as far up as you want with this thing. So yeah, I don't know. This seems bonkers. Really good in white, really good in green decks, really good in green-white decks. So crazy good card. All right, Combat Thresher. This one I'm not so sure about, but I thought it was kind of a cool effect. So yeah, we'll see. Definitely be good in draft. Usually the double strike creatures are pretty good in draft because you have some of the combat tricks. So anyway, let's read what it does. 7 mana, 3/3 with double strike. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. So the stats are so-so. You draw a card, so it kind of replaces itself. But you can also cast it for 2 and a white for a 1/1 with double strike that draws a card. So we have a card right now that is 3 mana for a 2/1 dwarf that draws a card and gains 1 life. It saw quite a bit of play when it first came out, and I don't think this one is worse than that, really. I mean, double strike instead of 1 more damage, so pretty comparable. So might see some play. Like I said, definitely would be pretty good in draft, but we'll have to see if it can make it to competitive. Okay, Fade from History. Fade from History. So this is a 2 and a green. Each player who controls an artifact or enchantment creates a 2/2 green bear creature token. Then destroy all artifacts and enchantments. So this is an artifact enchantment board wipe for 4 mana. Yeah, I mean, I think the set is all about artifacts. This is probably going to be pretty good in this set. Definitely in the draft set. Because they'll have artifact creatures that you're blowing up and you're giving them 1/2/2. So if you could kill like 7 artifacts, destroy 7 artifacts, you give them 1/2/2. So, yeah, that seems like a pretty good deal to me. And if you happen to have 1 random artifact, like 1 Power Stone, you're going to get a 2/2. So I think there's a good way to build your deck to make this like really good for you and really good against the opponent's decks. But it might be a sideboard card if the artifact decks are not like everywhere. Then this would probably just be like a sideboard card, but looks cool. All right, Flow of Knowledge. So we already have mono blue in standard. I hate the deck. It's so annoying, but I think they might like this card. 5 mana, draw a card for each island you control, then discard 2 cards. So basically in mono blue, it's a draw 5, discard 2. And it's instant, That's another big thing. Uh, yeah, I don't see why that wouldn't just be amazing for them. Even later in the game, later in the game, this could be like draw 7, discard 2, something like that. Crazy. Outside of mono blue, I don't see it seeing much play, but in mono blue, yeah, it's a crazy card. Alright, Forging the Inker, 2 and a blue. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal any number of artifacts from among them and put them into your hand. Put the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. So in an artifact-heavy deck, especially the one in Historic, this could be really good. You have to remember that you have like lands and maybe some non-artifacts in your artifact decks. So unless your artifact consistency is really high, this it won't work. But think of it like a Coco almost for your artifacts decks. This looks at the top 5, and you could potentially get 2 hits or maybe 3 hits if your deck has enough artifacts. So I think in the right deck, this could be really good. I mean, draw 2 or 3, or potentially more. Not likely more, but potentially more. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe the Historic deck would like this one. Fortified Beachhead. So as it enters the battlefield, you may reveal a soldier from your hand. If you do, it enters untapped. It's a blue or a white land. And 5 and a tap, soldiers you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. So basically this is for Soldier Tribal, and you'll see later that we have a lot of good soldier cards coming up. And we had quite a few good ones in the last set as well. So I think this means there's going to be a blue-white soldiers deck in standard because it just seems really good, really pushed. So yeah, I have no doubt that that's going to be a thing. Okay, Gixian Puppeteer. 4 mana for a 4/3. It's black, 4/3 and a black. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. There's a lot of synergy of these draw your second card in blue and black in this set. So I actually think there might be enough synergy for that and good cards to make this viable, where it's just a decent statted creature and upside you draw cards and you make them lose life. Like this works with the Teferi, the new Teferi. And then when this dies, you return a creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So even gets value when it dies. So it's like all upside pretty much. So yeah, I think there could be a good blue-black, I don't want to say mid-range, but like somewhat mid-rangey deck with Teferi at the top end that this one would really like. So yeah, it seems good. Gruesome Realization. I think we're almost at the end of the ones I want to look at today, but yeah, let's keep going. Gruesome Realization. You draw 2 cards, you lose 2 life. That's okay. That's kind of like standard black thing. It's 3 mana though. But the upside is you can also make your opponent's creatures get -1/-1 until end of turn. I think if we see a lot of tokens or maybe the soldiers deck get really popular, this -1/-1 might actually kill a few things. And then just drawing 2 cards in black is not terrible. So we'll have to see if it's good enough, if there's enough token type things going on. But if there is, this card will be good. Alright, Hajar Loyal Bodyguard. So sacrifice Hajar Loyal Bodyguard. Legendary creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain indestructible until end of turn. It's a green and a red mana for a 3/3. So just on stats alone, 2 mana for a 3/3, pretty good. And it can also save your other legendary creatures and give them a buff. So yeah, I think if there's any sort of green-red legendary type deck, this is going to be just amazing. Alright, I think oh man, I thought we were almost done. Hopefully we're almost done. There's so many cards in this set that look good. I'm just really excited for them. So we're going to have plenty of these videos. Alright, Harbin, Vanguard, Aviator, blue and white. And this is one of those soldiers I was talking about. It's a human soldier, legendary creature, 3/2. So 2 mana, 3/2, normal stats. But it has flying, that's pretty big. And whenever you attack with 5 or more soldier creatures, your creatures get +1/+1 and flying until end of turn. So, second part, not that likely to happen, but at 2 mana, 3/2 flying, still very good, and soldier, so it has soldier synergy. This is auto included in that blue-white soldier deck for sure. Very good card. Alright, Kayla's Reconstruction, X, white, 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 and look at the top 7 cards of your library. Put up to X artifacts or creature cards with mana value 3 or less from among them onto the battlefield, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So you always look at 7, which I think is what makes this card good. And you can put any artifacts or creatures with 3 or less. So I don't even know if you want to put this in an artifact deck. Just put it in like that soldier's deck or something, and it's basically a Coco for you. You'd probably have to cast it for at least X equals 2, so 5 mana. Get 2 creatures onto the battlefield. Seems good. I mean, it's not instant. That is a downside, but it has an upside where you could get more than 2 things. So yeah, I think it's it's definitely not bad, and I think in the right shell it could be good. Alright, lay down arms. 1 mana, exile target creature with mana value less than or equal to the number of planes you control. Its controller loses 3 life. So this is like a Swords to the Plowshare, but only in white. So if you're playing like a mono white aggro type deck, or something with a lot of planes, then this is basically Swords to Plowshare. Yeah, this card is bonkers. In white, just exile anything, basically, any creature. And they gain 3 life, which is not a big deal. So yeah, crazy good card in that type of deck. Right, Liberator, Urza's Battle Thopter, 3 mana for a 1/2 flying flash. You may cast colorless spells and artifacts as though they had flash, so now your colorless things gain flash. And whenever you cast a spell, if the amount of mana was greater than this creature's power, put a +1/+1 counter on the Liberator. So 3 mana, 1/2 flying flash, you cast at the end of the opponent's turn. You cast something that costs 2 mana at least, it's going to get bigger. 3 mana gets bigger, 4 mana gets, so it just keeps growing and growing and growing. I think it's crazy, seems crazy good. I think it's going to be everywhere, so yeah, be ready for this. This is a crazy card. Alright, whenever Lauren, Disciple of History, or another legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, return target artifact creature you control from the graveyard to your hand. It's a 4 mana 3/3. So you cast this, and you return an artifact from the graveyard to your hand, and you cast another legendary creature, same thing. So I think there's a little bit of legendary synergy in this set, and maybe the next set too, we don't know. But I think if you have some sort of artifacts-ish heavy deck with legendary creatures, then this will be good. Definitely, this is a great draft card, I would say. But yeah. Alright, I think that's where we're going to end today. So many cool cards in this set. Just so hard to get through all of them. I honestly think this set is going to really, really shake up things because everything seems really good and has lots of synergy. So, yeah, I don't know how, maybe it's going to be too powerful. We'll see. But really looking forward to it. Lots of cool, really cool new decks, to be honest. Not even like same type things. All these decks seem like they're new and different. So I think it's going to push out some of these stale decks that we've been seeing for a while. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up for today. We'll have another video probably tomorrow or the next day with more of the spoilers. And then you can look forward to the new decks, the new brews, coming up next week. So anyway, that'll be all. So until next time, see ya.